Hey guys, welcome to the Think Sports podcast. Our guest today is a BCCI NCA Level B coach and an ECB Level B coach. He used to be the head coach of Videocon School of Cricket, which is the most famous and largest cricket academy in Kolkata. He currently is associated with the Cricket Association of Bengal in the state sub-junior level. Please join me in welcoming our guest, Devabom Sarkar.
So, in light of the global pandemic, can you tell us a little bit about the current scenario in coaching in Calcutta? Also, can you highlight what you're doing to keep the spirits up of your players in your academy?
As per the government rules now, sports is closed, all forms of sports.
Right.
School sports, it's going to come last.
Right.
Okay, because unlocking has started, but then in phases,
Right.
and sports in school, it's very last.
Right.
That is it.
Have you been in touch with the coaches and students from your academy online and trying to get online sessions with them in terms of keeping their fitness and things?
Yes, there has been a lot of online things going on ever since the locking had started, the lockdown started. There's a lot of, especially in terms of physical fitness. Okay, so our trainers, they are really at it, and maybe 5 hours in different batches. They are really at it. So in private academies also are doing it, and suppose I am also attached with the state coaching right now, the under 16 batch of Bengal, and so even from the state side, from the Cricket Association of Bengal, we are having a lot of sessions, especially in terms of fitness, and physios are also doing a lot of prehab, which is a pre-season, have basically, and we are also doing a bit of skills online. But as you can understand, lots of drills and lots of skill practice indoor is quite boring. So skills we are doing, but more emphasis is on the fitness part.
But it must be difficult to keep the spirits up, right? Of the players.
Yes, obviously keep the spirits up, and basically, so the boys don't get detached from the game.
Yeah.
Okay, because there's something called muscle memory, which I'm talking of this under 16 level. There's something called muscle memory that that keeps on developing. So if there is a layoff, then the muscle memory diminishes for a particular skill. So it's keeping in touch with the game, and technically the muscle memory is in touch, so that nothing is lost.
Right. Okay. Just to so some questions about you. So the first thing is, what got you interested in cricket? Like initially, can you tell us a bit about your playing career?
Playing career, yeah, I was since the age of 15 years, 14 plus maybe,
Right.
14 plus. See, I had I had a lot of sporting activities since my childhood age, because my dad was a railway officer, and we had to travel all over India. Every 2 years, 3 years, we had to travel all over India. So there was not much of other socializing. So
Right.
what used to happen is, we used to have those railway officers clubs, and there used to be a lot of sports and games. So we never had the chance of making a lot of friends and doing other activities. So the whole, the entertainment for us was like go and play in the sport, in the club, whatever sports were available. So I used to play badminton, I used to play table tennis. That was the recreation basically. And then gradually I came back to Kolkata. Then I was studying in my school, and the school had a cricket team, so I started taking up cricket. And then all of a sudden, when I was in class 6, I got into the senior school team, and
Right.
people started saying that you play very well. So I also got very motivated. I told my dad, "Dad, I want to take up cricket." So he said, "Okay, take a try." So we had this one major coaching center at that point of time in Kolkata. I started going there. So within 6 months, it paid dividend, and I got into the under 15 Bengal team. That was the national tournament then. Now it's under 16. The BCCI has under 16. But then we had this under 15 Bengal team, and within 6 months, I cracked the state side. So that was a big motivation. That was a big leap, and I said, okay, that's it. That's going to be my career also. And it gradually took up from there. And I played various, age levels. I represented the Bengal state in various age level tournaments over the years. I played many years in the Kolkata First Division League, all the major clubs here. So that is how it went, basically.
Right. And in your playing career, did you notice any like nuances in the sport, or like was there any difficulty to make it to the top level? Like, was there any roadblock that you had to overcome in your playing career that you remember?
Well, there are ups and downs. I believe in every sphere of life, there are ups and downs. And basically, when you don't make it, you always feel that some wrong has been done, some wrong
Right.
has happened to you. I don't take it that way. There have been roadblocks. People talk of politics. Politics are there. Certain external factors were there. Sometimes I felt that, maybe I should have achieved more with whatever effort I had put in. But then everybody feels that when you don't make it.
Correct.
That's what I believe. So at the end of the day, I'm happy with whatever I have done with my cricket career. And then later on, I took up coaching, which has also helped me actually.
Right.
When you were younger, were you interested in any other sport apart from cricket, or was it just singular focus on cricket?
Yeah. As I said, I used to be a multi-dimensional sports person actually.
Right.
For my school, I used to represent my school team in football, in cricket. I was living in Howrah, a place called Howrah then. So I was also the sub-junior district badminton champion of Howrah,
Oh, okay.
under 15. Okay. So that time it was badminton and cricket parallelly for me. I used to play table tennis and soccer and all that in the school, but serious sports, it was badminton and cricket. But then, as I said, I cracked for the state team in cricket. So from then on, badminton took a back seat.
Okay.
Right.
So that's how it is.
I think most of us.
Generally what happens is it's something about genes basically. There's a lot of studies these days about the genetical structures. It is generally said that one person or one kid who is good in one sport will also excel in other sports.
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
There's a lot of studies, genetical studies regarding this.
Yeah, but it's interesting because given the structure over here in India, kids from a young age are being played, like they play many sports, not just one, right? And it becomes difficult for them to choose just one particular sport where they can focus all their attention on. So it's interesting because you say like you cracked the Bengal under 15, and that made it easier for you to select, okay, because you were good in badminton and in cricket. But it's interesting to know how you select one out of two that you're so good at, and because it becomes challenging for quite a few people.
Yeah,
most of us can relate to that, like going through that situation where you have multiple sports that you play, but you don't know which one is the best one for you. But then if you have some tangible success in one, you kind of stick to that. But otherwise, it's pretty tricky to be in that sort of situation.
Absolutely. Otherwise, it's pretty tricky. But then what is happening these days is that, studies are taking up in our childhood. We used to have a lot more of time than the kids today. Today, it's very difficult for a kid to play many sports.
Definitely.
Because of the time constraint, because school is taking up a lot of time.
Yeah.
Okay, even like for boys who are into serious cricket, my students or the guys who are competing for the Bengal state under 16 team, starting in school, about to appear for the secondary or the school leaving exams. So for them, continuing single sports is also becoming very tough these days.
Definitely. Yeah, from personal experience, I can account for this. Like during my ICSE and ISC exam, I couldn't continue playing any sport. Like I used to, Yeah, exactly. So for 3-4 months, I wasn't going for cricket. And what tends to happen is with most people, they take 3-4 months off and they kind of grow out of the game, because it's kind of like you say, muscle memory. Also, it's a habit playing a sport. You enjoy playing it, you're doing it regularly. Then some time away, it's hard to get back to the same level. So I think a lot of students in that phase, in class 10 or 12, face this problem. So
Actually, over the last couple of years, I know since I have been with this age group, under 16 age group of the state for the last 4 or 5 years. Uh, Over the last 2 years, I know at least three boys who have, since they cracked the Bengal side, then they had to leave the regular schooling and they enrolled themselves in the open school.
okay.
Okay.
So
Right.
so that is like
So are those boys that are taking up cricket professionally that want to go on to make maybe the Indian team or just play that as their career?
Sorry? Uh,
So are those boys that you were talking about, are those boys taking up cricket professionally? Is that what they're trying to do and
yes,
trying to
yes,
reach the
yeah,
highest level? Right.
absolutely.
yeah.
Since they are decided on taking up cricket professionally, so henceforth it's becoming very difficult to do their regular schooling as well as play for the state, play for the clubs, and the whole cricket season with them. It's becoming very difficult. The school is also forcing them. No, you have to go to school. Now it's a clash of timing, the number of days and attending school. So they are choosing one way now. Okay. See, those days are very difficult now when we used to know that Anil Kumble and those kind of guys, they are actually engineers. Okay, they did a lot of
Yeah,
studies, yet played
right.
for India. So
Right.
that time, that stage is becoming very difficult next year. Actually.
That's more
So,
difficult
so
to pull
this
off
is
now.
interesting. You are so as you know this particular challenge, right? And you are coaching kids who are of that particular age. So when they have to make that decision, right? When they are trying to decide between taking the examination or whether I want to go ahead and at the age of 15, 14, we all think we can make it professionally, but there are so many more challenges ahead, and there is parental pressure and there are lots of other pressures that we have. So, what advice would you give to a student who's at that stage? How do you um, tell him that okay, this moving forward is a good avenue for you or for her, as the case may be?
So this is a very interesting question actually, which I regularly face actually. And at this age group, it's more from the parents than the guys, because the boys would always love to play,
Yeah.
but more of such questions do come in from actually the parents. So they keep on asking, sir, what should we choose? What should we choose? So I always try to make an analysis of the guy. So I tell the parents that give them uh, till the age of maybe 16, 17, and 18 maximum 16, 17. Give them till that age and see how cricket is going. Okay, see what kind of success they're getting from cricket. Till then, my advice to them is always till then try to balance it. Try to balance between cricket and school, and see, even like just as I said, the times have changed. Even times have also changed. At one time, there used to be this theory that you have to have a great result in your school leaving exams to do a good career. All
Right.
right. But today things are different. There are so many professional avenues available. If you are not doing very well in your school leaving exams, I know a lot of guys who have done exceedingly well even after that.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. I know a lot of guys. I can tell you about one of my students who actually was doing very good in cricket. He attended India under 16 camp, represented Bengal, and suddenly in college, till then, like HS and higher secondary and secondary exams, he was totally devoted into cricket. So he just scraped through. He didn't do a great result. He got into St. Xavier's, which is one of the premier colleges in Kolkata, through
Yeah.
sports quota. Okay.
Right.
Later on, after maybe a year or so, suddenly he left cricket and he concentrated on his studies. And he's doing so well these days. So that way, it's not necessary that, 16, 17 years, if you are not doing very good in studies, you are just balancing between sports and studies. Later on, you can leave sports and still make it big in other avenues, in other professional areas.
Yeah.
So that is the kind of advice I generally give.
Yeah. No, it's always good to have a plan B. Like you can't focus on just one thing. So even if you're putting your mind to sport, at the end, if that doesn't work out, it's not the end of the road here. You have to have other avenues, other interests as well. So it's good to, it's if possible, balance. I know it's increasingly difficult these days to balance education and sport, but I think that's the best advice you can give to a student in that situation. Yeah, try to balance as much as possible.
Till a certain age, you balance it. Till a certain stage, you balance it.
Yeah.
Like as I said, maximum 17 or 18 years, maximum. And from thereafter, you take on one avenue. Okay, maybe 15 years of age, you are making into the Bengal team, you make a decision. But if you can't, maximum 17 years, wait till 17, 18, then make a choice.
Okay. Moving on to your the coaching side of things. As a coach, any personally, what are the particular challenges that you have faced? Like in terms of, maybe you can talk about your coaching philosophy, or was it difficult transitioning from playing to coaching, because they are two completely different things? Because you can be a really good player, but coaching other kids or at youth level or at senior level, it's a completely different ballgame. So what particular challenges have you faced moving into coaching from playing?
The greatest challenge about coaching, I'm talking about cricket. If I talk about cricket, the greatest challenge about coaching in India used to be this concept that you have to be a very renowned player to be a good coach.
Right. Okay.
But modern days coaching is something very different. Things are changing now. But I faced this at one point of time. Okay, this concept, this theory, or let's call it this practice that has been going on, that you need to be a great, very renowned player to be a good coach. But this is one aspect that I faced. But then later on, when I started doing my professional courses, I cleared level B of BCCI with very good results. Right. And there, everything is assessed. It's not only the theory that has been taught, there your coaching pattern or your coaching capability is assessed. And so when I did good results with those courses, so I did a level B from BCCI. I've also done a level B from ECB, which is English Cricket Board. So when I got these certifications, then I started getting assignments of coaching, right. State level assignments or these kind of things. So this was one challenge that I faced because see, internationally, even if you look at today's coaches, it's not about big names. It's about, coaching experiences. It's about how qualified each coach is. It's about the team management, the man management. Things are changing in India. Things are changing in India. If you look at the football scenario in India also, the parent body, AIFF, I suppose, they have made a rule. Yeah, they have made a rule now that you have to be a licensed coach, to be coaching for any of these ISL teams. ISL. Yeah, the national. Yeah. So that thing hasn't yet come into cricket, though there have been a lot of deliberations. There has been a lot of discussions about this. Obviously, a great player will always make a good coach, but I believe he has to educate himself also with the modern system, with the modern theories. Things are changing. I hope things will change further also, because now if you look at the Indian scenario, if you look at the Indian support staff, we have Bharat Arun. Okay, so I'm sure nobody heard of Bharat Arun because before he came, he played a couple of matches for India, but as a player, he's much better off as a coach than his contributions as a player. So that is one big credit. And Bharat Arun sir used to be faculty at NCA when we were doing our courses. Okay. So the great knowledge he has. So this was one challenge that I faced. Uh, and otherwise, there are a lot of aspiring coaches. There is competition. There are a lot of people who have taken up coaching, so there are a lot of competitions are there. Basically, these are the challenges that I faced, in my coaching pathway.
So that was interesting what you were saying when you said that. So if you're, did I understand that correctly? If you're a big player, you don't have to have certifications to coach at the highest level in India in cricket. Is that what you were saying? It's not mandatory to have certifications.
See, the last time, if you really reflect back on the last advertisement for the Indian head coach's post, there were a certain criteria. There were a certain criteria. Okay, but what I'm talking about is uh, most of the foreign countries. There's coaching for even a state side or for any kind of official coaching assignment. A certification is must.
Okay.
A certification is mandatory. But here in India, suppose you are going to coach for some state team, the certification hasn't yet become mandatory, like the football scenario.
Right. Right.
So, just for aspiring students, if you could harp on what the said certification and licensing is, and how one can go about acquiring this certification and licensing, like what is the procedure and what is the qualification required, and how does one get this?
Okay. See, this is totally this certification. We have only one official certification in India, which is actually run by National Cricket Academy, of which Rahul Dravid is heading right now. So, National Cricket Academy is basically the technical wing of BCCI. So, BCCI NCA, National Cricket Academy, BCCI NCA is responsible for the coaches' education. But what happens is all the coaching courses, all the courses that keep on happening over the period of time, we have three certifications, level A, which is the primary, level B and level C. So now there are certain parameters which entitles you to, appear for those courses. But again, you have to be forwarded, you have to be sent by your respective association, your state association. So the NC organizes those courses, but the state associations not generally, the state associations, you have to go via the state association. You cannot, privately apply.
Right.
So that is one problem area. So anybody, aspiring cannot do the BCCI course privately. It has to be through the official channel, which is the State Cricket Association. And it's not, they don't really set very high criteria. They rather assess your knowledge over there. So it's not very high criteria that you have to play so many matches, so many things, so that kind of a thing. There are certain private courses that are happening. Okay, right now, I just saw the other time, MS Dhoni Academy, they are doing a private online course during this lockdown period.
Okay.
But those certifications are not officially accepted. But yeah, certainly they will help you out. They will help you out, maybe, procuring some non-official coaching jobs, that kind of thing.
So, as Arjun was saying, aspiring student, someone who wants to get into cricket coaching, what are the main criteria that they need to fulfill? So, as you said, maybe at an initial level, the degree isn't the most important thing. Maybe the primary focus is the experience they've had as a player. But apart from that, you're saying that the times are changing, so people are looking at other things more, like it's not that tangible, but certain things like people skills, man management, all those kind of things. So if someone is to aspire to become a cricket coach, what are the things that they need to keep in mind?
Sorry, they need to keep
in mind. So at a very initial stage, what do I need to do to become a coach?
See, cricket coaching is about, about two parts. One basically is the development part, or you are a kind of a personal coach. Okay. So if you are looking at a personal development of your student. And the second type of coaches are the team coaches, and that includes a lot of team strategies, man management, personal management, and all those kind of things. So it's basically uh, it's a double orientation basically. Yeah, I know a lot of people who are very good individual coaches, but they are not good at team coaching, because team coaching
Right.
involves strategy, team coaching involves personal management. But if you're technically very sound, if you are not like we in coaching courses, we do a lot of biomechanics to really understand the technique of the game these days. So biomechanics is very hugely followed. So if you are biomechanically very strong, if you are technically very good, you can always opt for the individual development part of it as a development coach. So I always feel you can specialize yourself this way. Either you be a very good team coach and go into team coaching, or you can be a very good development coach and get into kind of academies where a lot of individual skill development goes on. So this is one area you can always segregate yourself. And the courses I was talking about, they teach you everything actually. So it's not just about cricket technique. I also did my level C course. I could not go back after 6 months to sit for the assessment because of my family problem, very serious family problem at that point of time. But I also did the highest level C course of BCCI, and over there we had uh, a huge what should I say, a lot of things to study, lot of things to understand. So which included biomechanics at the highest level, which included sports psychology at a very high level, which included personal management, which included media management, which included aerodynamics, human psychology, sports psychology, human physiology. So all these aspects come in later on, and you will be taught. If you go to those courses, you will be able to learn a lot of things other than cricket also. And all these things are related actually, because level C courses, like they are preparing you for a national coaching level. So over there you need to handle the media also. So even media management, how you handle the media, that is also kind of taught to you. So
So,
that
in your opinion, in today's day and age, can someone who, for example, has been in the banking profession for 5 years, but has always loved cricket at the end of the day, because we grow up, cricket is so big in our country, right? But because he has followed the path, he has become a banker. After 5 years there, can he make the switch and become a coach in our setup over here in India? Do you think it's possible?
It's very much possible. It's very much possible. As I said, the times are changing. The
Yeah.
times are changing. So if you do your certification, if you do your coaching degrees, but then you have to risk it because you're going to start from the scratch again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if somebody is ready to take that much of risk for the sake of his passion, then I think it's quite possible. It's quite possible. I know a doctor, a homeopath doctor. In fact, he was once discussing with me. He says, "I've got bored. Cricket used to be my passion. I want to start coaching." Okay. So it's a very valid thing that you have said. There are people like this, and if they are ready to take in the challenge, I think they can switch over. They very much can.
But you were talking about these degree certification. It's not readily, like you can't apply for them personally, right? You need to go through the state organization. So anyone, like today, if I decide to switch to coaching, I can't apply for that course, can I? Or like,
You
do
can't
I?
apply. You can't apply directly to BCCI.
Okay,
It has to be to the state association.
right,
But then as I said, there are certain private courses that are happening. Okay,
right.
there are certain private courses that are happening. So one can start with that, start coaching, and then gradually channelize into the official channel.
What I'm talking about is when you talk about the state association, right? When you apply through the state association, is there a selection involved there? So they only send certain candidates, or how does it work? When you say you apply through the state association, what do you mean? What's the process there?
The process is basically you have to contact your state association. You have to apply to them that I would like to do the BCCI course,
Correct.
the NCA BCCI course for cricket coaching. So
Okay.
you start with level A. There is one level O also these days, which a lot of state association are doing. So level O is basically not a certification; it is an orientation course. So I know a lot of coaches here in Kolkata, and level O is happening every year. Every year they are doing level O, at least in our Bengal Cricket Association. So, and a lot of coaches who are into coaching have done this level O over the last couple of years. So you can always apply to your state association that I'm so and so. You can put in your biodata, and um, and level O, you can always start with level O, which is the orientation course. If you're doing well, if from there gradually you can get into level A, level B. So
Right.
that is basically the process.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think something.
So you said level O happens every year. Is there a like a more rugged frequency for level A, B, and C? Are those how frequently do those exams happen? How would you kind of take
Actually,
those after you're done with the orientation?
yeah, it's basically these days after, but there are advantages for those who have represented the state. You know, the people who have represented the state can directly get into level A or level B. So that much of advantage they do have, those ex-players do have.
Right.
And level A and level B or level C, that gradually comes. There is no fixed for that. There is no fixed frequency for that. Decides that we need a few more of level A coaches in the state or a few more level B coaches in the state. So the state, level C is totally decided by BCC, by NCA. But as of now, level C is totally decided by NCA. But level A and level B, the states can approach the NCA and request for a course to be done in the state.
So okay, that's interesting insight into like how you can become a coach, because I don't think many people are aware of these degrees and licenses that you can get. So definitely that was useful. Another thing that was like we were talking about before is what we notice these days at India level, be it IPL or whatever, at a high stage, high level of cricket, we don't see enough Bengal representation. I mean, as compared to other states, right? So, what would you put that down to? Is that purely a talent issue, or is it there's some bias involved that we aren't aware of? What would you put, like, as a coach, you must have noticed like really talented people going up, through the coaching system, I mean the cricket structure. They're going up, they're playing state level, and then they don't quite make it. Why do you think, what do you put that down to actually?
Well, being in the official channel, I should not rather comment on biasness or things like that.
Correct.
But there are certain grievances over the franchisee owners of Kolkata, that not much of local talent in terms of players or in terms of coaching staff or even in terms of management. Not much of local talent or local manpower is utilized by them.
Right.
So that is one grievance that is always there. And otherwise, if you look at the T20 format, Bengal has not been doing very bad in that T20 over the last couple of years. Bengal, in fact, has made it to the finals also in the last couple of years. Okay, so
Right.
it was expected naturally. There must have been good players in the team to reach the finals of the national tournament.
Of course.
But unfortunately, we don't see many players in the KKR. And right now, we have a couple of, I think almost 4-5 players who are playing for other franchises. One of our budding young talent, Ishan Porel, he is in fact this year, he's been roped in by some other franchise. But not much of encouragement from the local team actually.
Yeah.
So since you see kids at the age of 15 and 16, we are all aware of the impact that IPL has made on cricket in India and actually globally as well. So, are the kids who are under you at that age, is the dream still to play for India, or do you want to be a successful IPL franchise player?
See, what happens is in any sports, if you ask a kid, the kid will always follow a role model.
Right.
Okay, they do not say, I want to become an Indian player, I want to become an IPL player. They will say, I want to become a Virat Kohli, or I want to become a Rohit Sharma, or I want to become a Jasprit Bumrah. This is, I believe, child psychology or human psychology. If you ask anybody, they will always talk of a role model. And it's a role model that draws people to cricket. Okay, it's basically a role model that will always draw kids into any sports. So it's generally, the general answer is always like, I want to become, if you're talking of that age group, the general answer is always, I want to become so and so. And then later on, the next answer would obviously be playing for India more than IPL, because kids will not understand so much of money in IPL. If you're talking about a 13, 14 years of age, a kid of 13 or 14, they will not understand how much money I'm getting or something like that. But they know the pride of playing for the country is very high. Okay, IPL, but yeah, later on, if you're talking about 17, 18, 19, then everybody starts calculating, and a lot of calculations come in. There are a lot of players, I don't want to name, they focus so much on IPL. Young upcoming budding players, they focus so much on IPL, they just lost it in a couple of years. But yeah, at that age, it's basically the role model first and then country.
So, as a coach for you, does that come into your thought process at all? When you are talking to kids and training them and coaching them at that young age, do you have plans set out for them in terms of paths that they can go through and take? Or
to a little extent, the kind of player they are. Okay, if I find somebody, we had one of these guys in the Bengal squad year before last, a guy called Ofikuddin Mondol. You won't imagine, he was 15 plus, and he can hit 6 sixers in an international size ground. And he did it also. He's a bloody of sixers. He's got so much of strength, power, and that's the kind of batting he does. So if I find a player of that kind, then obviously I try to tune him up for a limited version of cricket, for a T20. Okay, because we couldn't make him survive actually. We in the under-16 batch in the national tournaments, we had we have a 3 days. All right. So this raw talent, we could not make him understand that you bat for 40, 50, 60 overs.
Right.
Then he would be scoring 200 plus.
Right.
But every match used to give us runs, but he used to go down 2, 3, 4, 5 sixers, 50, 60, 70, 80. He's happy. So if I find that kind of a player who is suited for that kind of a game, for the T20 game, I would tune him up. I would tune him up for the T20 format, which is IPL in India. I would certainly tune him up that way. But if I find somebody who could be good enough, who's giving signs to be a longer version player, then I would tune him up that way. So it's kind
this is interesting. Okay. So where do you stand on the argument, which is Test cricket or T20? And there is a school of thought that if you are good enough for Test cricket, you will play every format, right? And people say that if you are from the youth setup, focusing on Test cricket, which is pure cricket, every other format will be fine. But like you are saying, if you find a kid who is 14 or 15 and he has this particular skill set, you tune him from an early age towards T20, right? So this particular individual tailored coaching program, do you think that is better for us? Or do you believe in the old purist theory of, well, if you can do Test cricket, you can do every other form of cricket?
See, there are a lot of players these days who are playing Test cricket, but they are not for a country, for any given country, who are playing Test cricket, but they are not in the T20 squad. And it's vice versa. T20 has got its own specialist players. I'm not saying all.
Yeah.
And again, there are players like Virat Kohli or Rohit Sharma or KL Rahul or Jasprit Bumrah. They are masters in all formats. Okay. So there is a basic difference here. But yes, technique does play a part. You know, like as they say, if a dancer is good in in classical form, he or she, that dancer can dance any form.
Right.
So even here, if your technique is good, you can do well in all the formats. But then if somebody is only specializing in one particular area, and he does not have this kind of mental setup for the 3-day format, nor does he have the skill setup for the 3-day format, then we can always specialize him for the limited version.
Right.
So there is a distinction. There are players who are good in both. This is an example I gave. Again, there are players who can only fit in one format, like Cheteshwar Pujara.
Yeah.
He is a great test player, but he will never be considered for maybe the one days or the T20s.
Right. Yeah. Do you think because of the IPL, India in general from the youth structure are producing less test players?
Can you say that? How can
But do
you
you
say
believe?
that? India. Look at the ranking of test ranking of India.
Yeah.
If we were not producing good test players, we would never be in that test ranking.
Correct.
I think even in the current test series that is going on, we are presently at number 2. We were number 1, but presently we are at number 2. And look at India's test record over the past few years, past 4, 5 years, 6 years. We are always very good in test cricket.
Correct.
So it is not that, when this T20 was starting, I was doing a television interview. I was asked by the anchor that this school of thought is coming in, that the cricket is going to change and cricket is technique, or the cricket level is going to go down. The level will never go down. The cricket will itself change a bit. It will evolve, basically. If you really look at this, at one time, 240 runs per day used to be a great score in test cricket. But look at now, every team is scoring 300 runs in a day. Okay. So it's just the changing scenario of cricket. As
with any sport, I think it evolves over time.
Yeah, it's not about degradation of test cricket. It's just the changing scenario.
So the fact that now more test matches are getting over in 3 or 4 days. A lot of people say, right, it's over in 3 days. That's because nobody's sticking out for 5 days. You don't see as many draws in test matches as such as we used to see in the past. That is just, according to you, the evolution of cricket and not because the quality has gone down.
It's not because of the quality has gone down.
Right.
Maybe we are getting a lot of results, but results are always good. It's playing out draws is no good. Nobody likes it.
Right.
You always like results. And another point is that we are having results, but we are not having less runs.
Right.
We are not having less runs. If you look at the innings totals of every team, I think it's gone up actually.
Yeah.
Actually, the funny thing about India is that the talent pool is so much. Nowadays, you get so many different varieties of players. I think you'll always have enough talent for all formats of the game. So you won't see if, the T20 team is doing well, doesn't mean that the test format, the talent is, there isn't enough talent for the test format. I think you have talent for all 3 formats. And you can have players which specialize in either of them. Or you can have players which play all of them. You have different kinds. And that's just the scenario with India right now. And it's a good time for cricket in India, I think. And it's only going to get better.
So, I mean, adding to that point, sir, as you know, there are so many people who are interested in cricket in our country, right? There are so many kids. I'm sure you see so many. And you know about 80% of the group is not going to make it. at a big level. So as a coach, how do you deal with that? How do you deal with telling kids, as you do, listen, you're just not good enough because the talent level is so high in our country, the competition is so fierce in our country. How do you deal with that in terms of from the parents' perspective, from the students' perspective, as you as a coach? How does
To
that work?
manage expectations, even if you
Yeah.
don't make it to the top level, maybe you make it to a certain level, but how do you manage those expectations? Because as a kid growing up, I mean, I can say like I wanted to play for India, everyone wants to play
Yeah.
for India, right? But you kind of after a certain point manage expectations. How do you deal with that aspect?
So, if initially I'm asked by somebody that what happens if this person really make it, what happens if he doesn't make it? See, I always say one thing, that even if you do not make it professionally in cricket, but the times you are spending on the ground, the times you are spending with the sporting environment, that helps in your personal development actually. Okay, even if I talk to a very young kid who's 10 years old, 11 years old, this kid will always have a lot of positive energy within himself, which he needs to spend somewhere. So why not he can let him come to the ground and spend it there? Because unless that kid spends that positive energy somewhere, that kid will never, grow properly. That kid will never evolve properly. That kid will be disturbing the parents at home. That kid will be irritated himself at home. So this is one area, you know, this will ultimately help in personal development of a guy, even if he's not making it to cricket. So that is a very, very positive area. That is a very positive area.
Definitely.
So as I always give the advice that 17 years, till 17 years, you see what is happening. Even after 17, if somebody is not making it into cricket, not, meeting those expectations that he had met for himself or others had on him, uh, he's quitting cricket at that point. But what in this journey, what he has actually done is he has gathered a lot of positivity from this sporting area, which he can use in his life, which will become, useful in his later life. So I always take it that way, and I always, try to make people understand that.
For students and individuals who are aspiring to become coaches or get into the profession that you are in, what advice would you give them?
Yeah.
And as an individual, do you think it's um, economically viable for someone to be in this profession for them?
Economically, I would take up the later part of your question first. Economically viable, you don't if you are doing those courses, and if you don't need to spend a lot on them, so you don't need to really invest a lot. You need to invest a lot of time. You need to invest a lot of your effort, to come to a level. And viability, well, there are a lot of coaching jobs these days, a lot of coaching jobs which does not require the official certification. Okay, a lot of school jobs are there. I know, a lot more of people now involved with cricket coaching and earning their livelihood. So economical viability is there. Now, my advice to a coach, which was the first part of your question, that will always be that, you should take up coaching if you are passionate about it. To do something professionally, there are a lot more of easier things in life. A lot more of very easy things in life. If you just want to make money, if you just want to do something, something well professional. But, if you take up coaching, be it in any sports, you have to have the passion for it. If you are passionate, do it. And secondly, be a coach. In Indian scenario, there are a lot of times when we used to hear coach, even now maybe sometimes we hear a coach says, I made that player. हमने इसको बनाया है. Okay. So that is a wrong concept. A coach cannot make a player. A coach can only, be with him, guide him, and help him reach that level where otherwise maybe he could not have reached.
Yeah.
That is a coaching philosophy, you know, that we should follow, because वो हमने बनाया है. If we always try to make a player, we'll never be able to make a player. It's today's world is a world of empowerment. So you do your coaching, you prepare your coaching philosophy in such a way that you can empower a person, and the guy, after he's 17, 18, 19 years old, he can tell you, yes, now I've learned enough and I can be on my own.
Yeah.
So that empowerment type of coaching should be there. That is the advice I would like to give.
Very good advice,
The old school of thought, he's my player and I will control him. I will teach him. I have taught him. I have made him. Please, let's get out of this. Okay, this is no more a coaching philosophy these days. It's a world of empowerment. Empower your guys and they'll do good.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Thank you.
That's really good advice. Yes.
That's extremely refreshing advice, sir.
Yeah.
It's very refreshing to hear.
It was very nice discussion.
So guys, that's our episode for today. Thanks a lot for listening. At Think Sports, we're dedicated to helping aspirants enter into sports-based careers. If you want to know more, you could head over to our website at www.thinksports.co.in. Also, follow us on all our social media accounts. Links will be in the description below. And feel free to subscribe to our podcast for similar content. We hope to see you next time.